Welcome back to Gaskin Point. Today is going to be a lot of fun because we're going to be trying the first ever 6 releases from Thomas H. Handy, 2006 through 2011. So in the last 2 weeks we tried 2012 through 2024. This has been part of my series of trying every single Thomas H. Handy ever, and then next week we'll be blinding our favorites from each flight that we've done so far. We've done a flight from 2019 through 2024, where 2020 and 2023 were our top 2. We then did a flight of 2012 through 2018, and in that 2013 and 2015 were the top 2, and then today we'll be doing 2006 and 2011, and the top 2, they're all going to compete next week in a blind video that will determine the best year of Thomas H. Handy ever. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and after today I will get to say that I've tried every single year of Thomas H. Handy, and we'll get to talk about them, give the reviews. There really aren't any reviews like this on the internet right now, I don't think, at least. And if you can find them, definitely point me to them, because I love reading these kinds of things, but I also like doing them myself too, so I'm so excited. And as a nice little fun fact before we get into this flight, I was looking into Thomas Handy and the history behind it. Thomas Handy was a bartender in the 19th century who became famous because he started using rye whiskey as opposed to cognac when making Sazerac, which is a very famous cocktail that's still made and very popular today. Obviously, Sazerac is the parent company of Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace is the distillery that makes Thomas Handy nowadays. So, all pretty cool, and, you know, they made this in honor of Thomas H. Handy, the man himself. And obviously, his photo is on, you know, obviously these bottles of whiskey here. It's actually not on this year. Maybe it's on this year. For some reason, I thought Thomas H. Handy was on these bottles. No, I guess not, but oh well. We are going to get right into it here. We're going to start with 2011. We're going to work our way down. We're going to give ratings. We're going to discuss them all. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm so excited. Let's get right into 2011. So I'll check my sample jar here. 2011 is 128.6 proof. Pretty run-of-the-mill based off of our previous years that we've seen. Wow. It smells good. We're going to be dealing with some really good whiskey today, I will just note. I mean, you're looking at, some people say 2006 is one of the best rye whiskeys ever created. I don't know if that's going to be true. I mean, we're going to find out pretty soon if that's true. But it still commands $2,500, and I can't imagine that's just purely a novelty, because the William Lou Weller, the George T. Stagg, their very first years are definitely commanding more, but they're not commanding 3 times as much as their third releases. And so the fact that 2006 is commanding just that much more goes to show we might be dealing with a very fine spirit here today. One that may even break the 9 barrier. We actually haven't had something break the 9 just yet, so it'd be pretty cool if the first thing was 2006 Thomas Handy. But anyways, this 2011 smells great. You're looking at a nice musty oak, very reminiscent of 2013 here, which I just absolutely loved. Probably my favorite so far going into the finale. But it'll be blinded, and we'll see. Maybe it'll end up placing last. We'll find out. Good musty oak, a nice rich orange candy on this. Some really nice cinnamon and nutmeg. Really nice vanilla. Actually deeper, like a vanilla extract. Some molasses on this. It smells incredible. I mean, that just smells amazing. Let's try it. Oh, that's good. That's really nice. Yeah, you're looking at a lot of the molasses and vanilla extract really coming out in that palate there. It began a little bit hot. You had this nice cinnamon, this nice nutmeg, but then it just went into the sweetness. Wow, so much sweetness on that. So much vanilla, a little bit of maple on that, some molasses on that. A ton of complex sweetness on this, and some rich oak on there. Not a ton of oak actually on the palate compared to the nose. But wow. I mean, just off the bat there, you're looking in the high 8s. I mean, I'm actually not even sure if 2011 will be getting a rating here today. We are saving the top 2 and rating them in next week's video, in the finale, but we're rating everything else, so we've rated 9 of them so far, the highest of which that didn't go on was an 8.6. And let's just say, at least on that first sip, that 2011 is competing. Wow, that is amazing. That is so, so good. Let's go back here to 2010. And I will say, if that's the worst one on this flight so far, we're going to be hitting a 9 for sure on this flight. I mean, I'm just so excited. This is so good. Okay, this one I will say is a little bit more simple on the nose. Definitely some really nice orange candy and vanilla. Still some nice rich oak, still some really nice maple molasses on this. It's just not nearly as rich of an oak, and there really isn't as much cinnamon or nutmeg on this. Kind of just getting the more straightforward sweet flavors. This is actually much more similar to like the 2015. And I believe one of these bottles was 2010. I have neck tags. So this is the 2000. So this is actually what we're drinking here today, which is pretty cool. And then this is a 2015 that we tried in last week's video. And I have empty bottles actually of like 2011, 2008 or so. I don't know. I have a few years which are pretty fun, but oh well, they're empty. So I kind of leave them in that area of the collection. You guys just get to see the cool, fun bottles. But anyways, wow. Yeah, it definitely still smells incredible. Still smells better than pretty much anything from our first flight here. The unfortunate truth of the matter is that these flights have improved drastically over the course of the 3 weeks that we've done these. And I'm on sample number 2 and I'm saying that now. So I think by the time I get to 2007, 2006, oh man, it's going to be a great day. Let's try some 2010 Thomas Handy. I will say, not nearly as good on the palate. That one, I'd be surprised if that one goes on. It's pretty oaky, actually, on the palate. Not nearly as oaky on the nose, but much more oaky on the palate. But actually pretty straightforward, just kind of oranges on there. And a little bit of tannin on that. Some kind of baking spice on that as well. That kind of nutmeg and cinnamon, but a little bit of harshness on that as well. I mean, it kind of drinks pretty hot. It's kind of funky. I mean, 2010, let's check here. It's 126.9 proof, so it's not actually high at all by Thomas Handy standards. I mean, the lowest, really, like 124.9, 2023, I believe, is the lowest that we've dealt with, and we're going to be seeing 130s here today. So the fact that this one drank hot is interesting. I like the 2011 a lot better. I mean, that's still going to probably be in the mid-8s, but that 2011 was awesome. So that's interesting. Let's go back to 2009. So 2009 here, 129.0 proof. It's actually the same proof as 2020. So another duplicate. I always knew that 2017 and 2024 were duplicates, and 2010 and 2015 were duplicates. Like, these are different years, even though the proofs are both 126.9. Did not know that 2009 and 2020 were also duplicates. It's a lot of duplicate proofs for Thomas Handy. That's pretty interesting. On the nose here, actually pretty similar to 2010. I'm saying probably slightly less sweetness on this 2009. Very orange forward, and I have been enjoying the ones that are more vanilla, molasses, maple forward. Kind of sweet tea forward as well, which so far has really only happened on the 2020. The 2011 did have a little bit of that, which was nice. Yeah, this is leaning a lot more towards the oranges, which isn't a bad thing. But definitely less pleasant. And there is actually a surprising amount of ethanol heat on this. Now, these have all been sitting for about 20 to 30 minutes. I didn't want to let them sit any longer because they are half-ounce samples, and there's a point that they get to where they just start evaporating, and so I cannot give them that much time. But I thought like 20 minutes was pretty fair. Yep, smells like orange candy. Doesn't really smell like much else. Not nearly as pleasant to smell in the nose as that 2011. Still good, though. Let's try it. Interesting. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. In the beginning, the front palate, it wasn't that good. It was pure oranges. But then towards the mid and late palate, it came into this really nice rich oak, this really nice nutmeg and cinnamon spice. Wow, there's some mint on there as well. A little bit of herbal notes on that, but in a way that it's like really flourishing with the other elements in this, which I really like. I think 2018 and 2019 were really the only two Thomas Handy years that we've had so far that were more on the herbal side of things. This is definitely third most herbal from what I have so far, but it really works into the other elements. And a finish that kind of in the beginning I was expecting to be short to medium ends up turning into very much a medium length finish, which is really nice and really much more potent than I was expecting. That's very solid. I don't like it as much as the 2011, but it's definitely up there. I mean, wow, that was a really, really nice pour. But let's go back to 2008. Now, the funky thing is, as we start getting to this last year here, well, I was obviously born before 2006. These are only 6-year-old spirits, and we're going to start getting to the point where they were distilled before I was born, which is pretty funky. Gives a little bit of an indication about how old I am. I am not the oldest man that does bourbon YouTube reviews. That's okay. We have fun here at Cask and Point. Now, 2008 is 127.5 proof, pretty standard proof with the Thomas Handys, really nothing standing out there. Now, I will note the next two are going to be the highest two that we've ever seen. It's also kind of sad and also kind of funky because Stagg Jr. was also the highest proof with batch 1 at 134.4 proof, and then it never got close to that again. It had 132.3 with batch 12, which was 5.5 years later. Kind of weird that they start off really hot and then they've kind of mellowed out in proofs over time. Kind of same thing happened with Thomas Handy. You know, we're really seeing, we saw 130.9, and, you know, I'll save the rest of this discourse until we actually get into 2006 and 2007, but yeah, I mean, just kind of expecting, you know, similar proofs later in the years, but, you know, it seems like the hottest were really saved for the early years. 2006, 2007, Thomas Handy, 2013, batch 1, Stagg Jr. I don't think that's the case, though, with George C. Stagg. I think the peak was 2011 or 2007, one of those. I mean, that range of 2005, 2012, you all had hazmats. And actually, before that, you didn't have hazmats. So, anyways, I digress. And there are going to be a lot of tangents, because I love talking about this stuff all day. Let's try some 2008. On the nose here, there's definitely a nice rich orange candy on it. It's still more orange forward, though. I mean, you know, this 2011 wasn't that orange forward. Definitely was much more vanilla, molasses, stuff like that, where these, you know, these last three have kind of been really orange forward on the nose. There's a nice funk to it as well. Like, there is some nice oak funk, actually very reminiscent of, like, the early to mid Stagg Jr. batches. Which is to say, you know, kind of whiskey that has this old oak funk to it that you're just not really getting on many modern day concoctions. It's really nice. Wow, orange, vanilla, maple. Yeah, and that nice rich oak. Let's try it. Interesting. Interesting. So, it's definitely oakier than I think anything that we've had so far. 2009 was oaky, 2008 is even oakier. And there's definitely orange on that. There's definitely the vanilla extract on that. But I'm not loving it, actually, as much as I loved the others. I had high expectations for 2008. You know, I remember it was, you know, like the first or second grade or something like that. And, you know, it was a great year from what I remember. I think there was a lot of top songs from 2008. And it's just a very pleasant aesthetic year. I mean, 2008. But, yeah, I don't know. It's not that good. It's actually probably one of my least favorites of these four, which is interesting. Because I think, you know, this is kind of the point where the secondary market starts going crazy. You know, you really see an exponential curve in these last three. I think, you know, 2009 versus 2015, the price is actually pretty much the same. Like, you're looking at around $600, maybe $650, maybe $700, depending on the month, depending on the year, whatever. But, you know, as you get into these last three, 2008 can go anywhere between $750 and, you know, it's moved at $1,000, $1,200 before. So, you know, you're really starting to see a spike up because there are just not many bottles at all of these earlier years going around, and people think that they're also really good bottles of whiskey. But that 2008 is not impressive at all to me. I think it's oaky. I think it's pretty rich. There's actually gets into a little bit of like tobacco, you know, mesquite towards the end of it, which, you know, may be some people's cup of tea. It's really not as much mine, at least for what I'm looking for in Thomas Handy. So, yeah, that's going to probably rank in the lower end right now. Going to the last two, I'm thinking 2011 is going to move on, and these next three probably won't if we end up getting better ones in 2006 and 2007. But that may or may not be the case. Let's see some 2007. So 2007, whopping 134.8 proof, the highest proof Thomas H. Handy ever. Kind of cool. I mean, you're only 5.2 proof away from hazmat. Obviously, that means that there has never been a hazmat Thomas Handy. There has been one hazmat William Llewellyn in 2014, and people pay a pretty chunk of change for 140.2 proof whiskey. I haven't tried it, but hopefully one day I will. But let's try the 2007 Thomas Handy. It's also pretty orange forward. There's also a nice citrus and lemon on this as well that I wasn't really getting before. Wow. really like orange rind, orange peel, like lemon citrus. Also like kind of like a lemon head candy, like those kinds of candies. It's really nice here. I'm trying to dig deep because I'm trying to see if there's much more going on, but it's really those kinds of citrusy notes here. It looks like a Sour Patch Kids kind of thing going on here on this. Wow, that's really interesting. Now, as time goes on, there's definitely more of that vanilla extract, definitely more of that molasses, those kind of deeper sweet notes on this. Definitely some oak presence there, definitely some of that oak funk that I was talking about, I think, in 2009. Wow, that's really nice. And there is definitely a little bit of heat kick on this. This definitely is smelling the part of being the highest proof Thomas H. Hendy ever. And second place, I believe, is 2006, which is a whopping 2.1 proof lower. So, funnily enough, like Stag Junior Batch 1 has a 2.1 proof lead on the second highest proof Stag, which is Stag Batch 12. This has a 2.1 proof on the second highest Thomas Hendy batch. So, what does that mean? Absolutely nothing. But, kind of cool. Let's try 2007 Thomas Hendy. Oh, wow. Oh my god. That is so much different from every Thomas Hendy we've had so far. That came punching. I mean, that came with a lot of force and a lot of heat, which I liked, to be clear. It was actually really good. And if 2006 is as good or better, this 2007 versus 2011 is going to be an interesting fight for who moves on. But that came in, there was a lot more tobacco. There was definitely a lot more of that and a leather on it as well. Definitely a rich orange candy. Definitely the like lemon heads and sour patches and kind of that also definitely came through on the beginning of the palate. But then it just got into this really rich oak and this vanilla extract. Wow. That's a really good whiskey. I mean, we're in the high 8s again. We're near a 9.0. I mean, that was incredible. I mean, I get it. I get why, if you like Thomas Hendy, why the price starts really spiking towards the end here, because, I mean, that bottle doesn't really pop up on secondary markets much, but when it does, I mean, if it's $1,000, people probably buy it instantly. If it's $1,500, you know, maybe there's a little bit more of a debate, but it still moves at some pretty insane prices relative to other Thomas Hendys and really relative to anything else in the market. And a lot of the explanation is because 2006 and 2007 are actually that unique, and I see that. Wow. I mean, there's just so much more force on that, so much more punch on that. 130.7 proof, and it felt 134.7 proof. And actually, 134.8 proof. It's just so good there. I mean, wow. Wow. Okay, let's go to 2006. And we're going to go through here again. We're going to set our ratings. We're going to pick out our top two. Not going to be an easy flight. I think 2008 to 2009, 2010, like these aren't going to do nearly as well. I think definitely so far, 2007 and 2011 are in the lead by quite a margin, actually, on the other three. Although the other three are probably still going to rate in the mid-8s, and still very solid years of Thomas Hendy, still definitely above average for all three of them, I think. I think that 2007 and 2011 are going to have a pretty good time, but let's move on to 2006. In this glass is the first ever release of Thomas H. Hendy. It smells amazing. It smells like Willet rye that's older than like 11 years old. Like it's smelling like a 15, 17-year-old Willet rye. Wow. Now this bottle, like I said in the beginning of the video, has a secondary value of between $2,200 and $2,500. It ranges because there really aren't many sales of this bottle. There aren't many people buying the bottle, but there aren't also that many sales. Some say it's the greatest of all time in the rye department. And at $2,500, I mean, it's not that much cheaper or than the best ryes out there in the market. I think, excluding your like crazy 23-year-old Willets, like Willet, you know, Doug's Green Ink and Doug's Black Ink and all that stuff, and you know the Linnell's Red Hook rye. I think excluding kind of those sets of ryes, I think there are like 5 sets of those Willet ryes that are the 23-year-old coming from, I think, Bernheim. I think excluding kind of that world of rye, there really aren't many ryes that are more expensive than this. I mean, Booker's rye is cheaper. That's a 2016 136.7 13-year. many believe to be the best rye released in the last 10 years ever. And that is cheaper than this Thomas Handy from 2006. Wow. So let's break this down. You're definitely getting the rich orange candy. You're definitely getting a really nice vanilla extract. You are getting a really rich tobacco as well. Really rich leather. And there's also like a really strong maraschino cherry. And I haven't really gotten cherry on pretty much any Thomas Handy before. It's like a Buffalo Trace forward pour. Wow. I will note, there's definitely a little bit of heat coming off on this. It is 132.7, which, like I said, I'm pretty sure that's the second highest Thomas H. Handy ever. I believe 2012 is in third place at 132.4. Wow. Wow. There's so much more sweetness going on here, so much more richness going on here. Definitely a darker flavor profile relative to any Thomas Handy we've had so far. Let's take a sip. That's amazing. It ain't worth $2,500, but it's really good. It's really good. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at a whiskey that I think has a lot of really rich sweetness, probably more rich sweetness than we've gotten. You're also looking at that nice rich tobacco and those more smoky flavors that I really haven't seen on any Thomas Handy, but these kind of last 2-3 here have really gotten into those richer tobacco-y flavors. Aren't really typically my cup of tea, but I think you add them in as a tertiary element to the already very nice orange and vanilla and citrus and all that, that it adds another addition to the complexity of it, and it's really good. I mean, that's really good. That's amazing. that's really good. Now, I will say, it's not blowing 2007 and 2011 out of the water. It's definitely up there. I think it's definitely... I mean, the fact that 2023 is going to go through to the finale, but one of these three won't, definitely hurts me a little bit, to the point where I almost want to bend the rules and have 7 or 8 in the finale. We'll see if I end up doing that. But, I mean, those are really, really good years here. So what I think we're going to start doing is we're going to try 2008, 9, and 10. We're going to give them ratings. We're going to just confirm that these don't really deserve to be in the finale. And then these last 3 here, I think, unlike the previous video and the one before that, where we kind of had 1 year, which was 2020 in part 1 and 2013 in part 2, where they were just so stellar that they really genuinely, you know, they made it through to the finale with ease. And then we kind of had a real duke out for second and third place. I think this time we're going to have a duke out for first and second. I think it's going to be really tough to choose between these 3 years, but let's get right into it. So I'll start here with 2008. Obviously, it's going to smell a little bit sweeter, just because we're working with not that much whiskey in the glass. You know, the alcohol sugars are just going to stick to the glass, and it's just going to be much more noticeable that the sweetness has increased. And that's going to be the case on everything. It's harder to rely on the noses here in comparison. But that's also why I use these small Glencairns here, because they really bring out the like 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce samples. And, you know, obviously on this channel, we really don't do anything beyond 1 ounce. I actually don't know if I've ever had a sample bigger than 1 ounce on this channel. This is because it allows us to try more things, and 1 ounce is kind of plenty. But, you know, sometimes we have to do 1/2 ounces like we did in this video, because, you know, I want to save the other 1/2 ounce for the finale. And yeah, I mean, this 2008's great. Let's try it. Really rich. Really rich. More oaky, I think, than anything on this flight. Definitely, like, more reminiscent of 2014 and 2021, which I think were the oakiest in their respective flights. I think this time around, this is less oaky than those two, but it's still more oaky. And I think with the fruit there on top of the oak, I mean, you're looking at an incredibly well-balanced pour. I mean, that's awesome. The fact that this is the one that I'm pretty confident is going to get eliminated here really says something about the quality of these other 3. I think if we don't see a 9.0 next week, something's wrong, because I think we're going to get a 9.0. I mean, this is just awesome here. I'm going to go ahead and rate this I'm torn between an 8.6 and 8.7. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8.6. But I'm going to say that it is the best whiskey so far that we've ranked. I think all of the whiskeys, 2012 is going to be up there. 2018 is going to be up there. I think 2008 is better than them. I think 8.6 is fair. I think when I'm thinking of other things that are 8.7, 8.8, like, I don't think I prefer that over William Lee Weller, which is typically that 8.8, 8.9 range. I don't think I prefer it over really good years of George C. Stagg. It's really good, but the upper bound on those two BTECs is just higher than Thomas Handy, it seems like. And so, yeah, I think 8.6 is fair there, but it is going to be number one so far. Let's see 2009, 2010. Let's see how they stack up, and then we'll see how we deal with 6, 7, and 11. Yeah, a lot more orange on this one. Not nearly getting as much of that oak. Wow, smells good. Yeah, really getting the power on this one. That's really nice. It was really nice. I honestly, I like it better than 2008. Not by much. I think that's going to be an 8.7. But it's really winning that because it's not as oaky. There's still some oak on there. There's still some of that complexity. You're still getting, the richness of the orange on there. But you are also getting a little bit of the tobacco. You're getting a little bit of the kind of richer, like vanilla molasses flavors on here. And on top of that, you're just getting a lot of punch. I mean, 2009, like we said, is, what is this? It's 129.0 proof, which, is a little bit on the higher end. I think, it's probably above average for Thomas Handy, but it's not really that much higher. But it drinks hotter, and I like that. I mean, there's a nice power to it. There's a nice punch to it. I don't know if it's typical to say that 2009 is better than 2008 Thomas Handy. I'm not sure. There aren't that many opinions on these bottles, but I'm definitely pretty confident that these two here are going to get eliminated. So I'll actually place these back here. But yeah, we're looking at 8.7, and that's not in the top of the flight. And 8.7 is the same rating that I gave George C. Stagg 2024 for what it's worth. So, I mean, I'll have to revisit George C. Stagg 2024. George C. Stagg 2024 is really, really good. But we're dealing with some great whiskey here. Let's try 2010. 2010 here. Yeah, I mean, over time, these kind of just start smelling like caramel. For better or for worse. I mean, there's like a little bit of butterscotch and toffee as well that's kind of opening up in a lot of these. Let's try it. It's good. It's good. It's the worst of the flight here, but it's good. It's really good. Yeah. I mean, this one, I think, is similar to 2009 in flavor profile. It's just less strong. Like, you have the tobacco, you have the leather, you have the orange candy, you have a little bit of vanilla. You don't really get into that, like, vanilla extract molasses part of it. It's just not there enough. I just don't think it's rich enough. It's still a good year of Thomas Handy, but it's kind of just a little bit hot. Like, 2009 is also a little bit hot, but it comes with a lot of flavor as well, so that heat isn't as offensive. Whereas I think, 2010 has a similar amount of heat, but not nearly as much flavor, so it actually kind of just drinks a little bit hot. There's still cinnamon, there's still nutmeg, there's still a lot going on here. This is still an awesome pour of whiskey, but it's going to get an 8.6 here today. It's actually going to rate the same as 2008, but I will rank the 2008 a little bit higher. And I'll be honest, I think these three are the best three that we've had so far. I think maybe 2012 will flirt with them a little bit. And I'll see how I do that ranking, and, you'll see it at the end of this video, how I rank them against each other. But I think for the most part here, we're looking at three whiskeys that are all better than 2023, which will be in the finale, which hurts me a little bit. But, somebody had to go on in the beginning, and I figured things would get better towards the end. I didn't think they'd get this much better towards the end. So, wow. I mean, it's great. It's great whiskey. And the fact that it's dead last here, for sure, is really saying something about the quality of the rest of these whiskeys here. I mean, you have that richness, you have the pepper towards the end, you have all these other things going on. It's a great pour whiskey, but anyways, where do we begin? 2011, 2007, 2006. This is going to be tough. Let's start with 2007. 2007 here was the hottest of the bunch. And actually, we might just have to side by side these noses. 2006 is, there's heat. It's really orange forward. 2007 is less orange forward, but there is more complexity on it. I'm getting more oak on it. I'm getting more vanilla extract on it. Let's see 2011 here into the mix. Wow. And there's vanilla and there's oak on this. And there's orange on this. Wow. On the nose, I think 2011 might get it. Yeah. I really like 2011's nose. All right. I'm going to try 2007 first. Great pour of whiskey. Great pour of whiskey. Wow, if I give that a rating, it's going to be a really high rating. It's going to be one of the highest ratings we've given on this channel. I'm not going to rate it for now, but I have the number in mind. It's a good number, and it's higher than 8.7, I'll just say that. I'm hesitant to take this sip of water, because I really wanted to just sit with that. You know, the nice part about ending a Thomas Handy video is that I can go on, and the taste of the last pour will stay in my mouth, you know, for a good half hour, and I can just sit there and enjoy that, which is really nice. Man, let's do 2011 first. Interesting. 2011 is much more reminiscent of like 2013, where you have this nice, rich, musty oak in conjunction with the orange, with the vanilla extract, with the molasses, which you're actually not really getting on many others. That kind of musty oak that, you know, I always talk about my musty oak. I love my musty oak. And a rich, deep, oaky flavor on this. But there's still a lot of sweetness. There's still a lot of orange. There's still a lot of orange peel and all that. Wow. I have a rating for this one as well. And it's a good rating. We'll see what happens next week, but I have a feeling something might hit a 9.0. So far here, though, I'm very confident that both of these are above an 8.7, which can tell you that these are amazing pours of whiskey. But let's see the 2006. I mean, this, quarter ounce here is worth, let's see, 100th of, it's about $25 right here, and just this much of it, which is insane. There was also quite a bit of barrel char in 2006 and 2007, and I'm not sure if that was just purely on the samples that I got, or if just the bottles themselves just had a lot of barrel char. I'm not complaining either way. I like barrel char a lot. But let's see. Let's try the 2006. Oh, okay. Okay. They're all great, and they're all great for their own reasons. 2006 is the most orange forward. That is your perfect orange whiskey. That is your perfect orange rye whiskey. That is absolutely and utterly amazing. I mean, you are looking at three whiskeys here that are well above an 8.7. And by well above, I mean, some of them might be like an 8.8, but, you know, they're above an 8.7. This is going to be tough. This is going to be really, really tough. And I think even if I had 2 ounces of these samples, I don't know if I could really narrow it down. 2011 is really similar to 2013. 2013, I think, is better than 2011, but it's a very similar vibe, and they're really, really good. I think 2007, I think, is much more like this really funky orange sour patch kind of situation. And I think 2006 is really sweet oranges, really pure sweet oranges on this. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think I'm actually going to put all 3 of these in the final. I'm going to figure out a 7th glass situation because I only have 6 of these school glasses. I'm going to buy glasses. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going to have new glasses for next week's video. All 3 of these are going to go on. I mean, I'm not going to rate them here today. I'm not going to rate them here today. I'm going to blind them next week because they're just that good. I mean, they're looking at an 8.8 or higher. I really tried some of these. I thought these are 9.0s, 9.1s. So, yeah, we're going to have to try this next week. We're going to see how they stack up. We're going to have 7 in the finale. I broke my rule And that's just because I think these deserve to be blinded. I think these all really deserve a spot in the finale. And we're going to have 7. We're going to have 7. It's going to be a fun finale. But I hope you all enjoyed it here. And I'm going to show the rankings so far of all of these whiskeys. But this was by far the best flight of whiskey I've ever done. By far the most expensive, but also by far the most enjoyable. And now I can say I have tried every single year of Thomas H. Handy, and the standouts are 2006, 2007, 2011, 2013, and 2020. I think that's my top 5. And obviously, we have 2015 and 2023 as well in the finale, so we'll see how those two do. I mean, 2013, it's really nice to see a 2023 in the finale as well, just because that's a very recent year, and we'll see if it gets dead last, or if it ends up like 4th or 3rd or 2nd, or even if it wins. We'll find out, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all had fun. I mean, this is just so much fun for me to record, so I really hope you guys also enjoy the video. And, I really hope you guys tune in next week when we do the finale. We will be finding out what the best year of Thomas H. Handy is ever. Stay tuned for that. But for now, have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.